Oklahoma Gardening is a production of the Oklahoma Cooperative Extension Service as part of the land grant mission of the Division of Agricultural Sciences and Natural Resources at Oklahoma State University, dedicated to improving the quality of life of the citizens of Oklahoma through research-based information. Underwriting assistance for our program is provided by the Oklahoma Department of Agriculture, Food, and Forestry, helping to keep Oklahoma green and growing. Welcome to Oklahoma Gardening. Today I'll share with you all about the pineapple lily plant. We then take a look back at the transformation of the Myriad Gardens Crystal Bridge Conservatory. And then we head over to the Survivor Tree at the Oklahoma City National Memorial, where we learn more about what is being done to protect and preserve this special tree. Says you can't add a little tropical flair to your own backyard here in Oklahoma. With this plant Eucamus, you can do just that. Also known as pineapple lily, Eucamus adds a bold texture to any landscape. You can plant it individually or you can plant it in mass with several of them. Regardless, the texture to some of the surrounding plants is going to really add a nice landscape design to your backyard. Now, just the foliage alone is impressive as it comes in both a burgundy color and also a green color. However, you're also going to get flowers that can start blooming in midsummer. And you can see they're just now starting to bloom. And why it has its name, pineapple lily, is because it produces these pineapple-like flowers with these bracts or modified leaves on the top of that, kind of resembling a pineapple. Now, this is fairly small still. It's going to continue to grow and elongate, and you can see all of these flowers will soon open. And it's going to flower for us for about 8 weeks, which really extends our summer garden, as a lot of times our other garden is sort of really starting to feel that heat. This tropical plant is going to start taking off. Now you'll also see the spike of the plant here is burgundy. However, a lot of times you'll see kind of a speckled look to that stem as well. Depending on which hybrid you get of Eucamus, the flowers are going to range in color anywhere from white to a pink color. So again, that adds to the variety that you can add into your garden. Now, this is a plant that is native to South Africa, and so being tropical, it's going to like moist conditions. However, it does want well-drained soils that have a lot of high organic matter in them. So it might not be suitable for all of Oklahoma, but it is hardy to zones 7A. So you can leave it out. It'll come back for much of Oklahoma. However, if you're north of that zone, then you might want to think about digging those bulbs up and storing them in a dry, cool location and then planting them back out the next season. If it is a perennial, it's going to get about a 2 foot by 2 foot clump for you, and you might want to think about dividing that early in the season if that mass gets too large or you want to share it or spread it in your garden. Otherwise, this plant is a great way, not only because of the foliage, but also the flower, to add that tropical look into your backyard.
I'm Maureen Heffernan. I'm the director of Myriad Botanical Gardens in Scissortail Park. This Crystal Bridge officially opened to the public in 1988. So, we've changed a lot of it. I mean, things that were just outdated, the infrastructure needed replacing, and then how could we improve it? So the circulation, I think, is a way we've improved it. Certainly all of the new interpretive elements are really going to add a lot of interest to people that we didn't have before. Up on the skywalk, that we call it, before it was a wonderful place to walk and look over, but for kids and people in wheelchairs, you couldn't see the beautiful view. And there wasn't any interpretive information up there. So we've created 3 bump outs here. And so at each station we'll have a really interesting, fun, interactive component to learn about plants or wildlife, as well as lots of other interpretation on all levels. Signage, interactive features, displays is the way we've improved it. Just opening it up more, like you can see how beautiful this terrace is to really see the views. The waterfall feature, I think, is totally reinvented. It was, we had a waterfall there, but it was a lot of kind of water coming out of a pipe in a way. And, which is okay, but I think we really wanted to bring this up to a world-class level. And so investing in that, I think, will make a big difference. So we just tried to make it more engaging, more accessible, more comfortable, more educational, hopefully more beautiful. One big feature, which will be really interesting, is the way we're grouping the plants. Nate Shane, our director of horticulture, has spent hours, countless hours, on a planting plan. So we're grouping plants by education categories. So we can really tell some nice stories in certain areas that really build on your knowledge. So you can see all kinds of plants that are commodities, spices, fruits in certain areas, and really understand how they grow and what they're used for. We plan to add some redwood roots that our designer, Scott Murasi, found out in Oregon. And he showed us pictures of them, and you thought they were sculptures. They're older, weather-worn, beautifully patterned and intricate, and an amazing design and look to them. So they're quite large pieces. So we're positioning some of them up in the bromeliad terrace, and then we'll plant into them. So it really gives this more natural effect. And I think people will appreciate the story behind them when they learn more about them. There'll be one towards the entrance, and there may even be one up here on the terrace to look at too. So we're trying to re-envision what a conservatory could be, an updated modern conservatory with some unusual elements that we thought they may not be what you think of as a sculpture, but they really serve as that, and we can plant into them. So I think it's going to add a lot of interest to the project. The plants will be here we're bringing soil in tomorrow. Plants will be here next month. And I would say we're 65–70% done. A lot of the big work, I think, is out of the way at this point. And our contractor Lingo has just been fantastic to work with, the whole team, ADG, Scott Murasi, Charles Sparks with our gift shop will be opening in October. So yeah, it's so far so good. We hope to open to the public. If you're a member, you can come in October. Otherwise, we'll be opening to the general public just before Thanksgiving.
This might not look familiar, but we are actually right back here at Myriad Gardens' new Crystal Bridge that's going to be opening soon. And joining me today is Maureen Heffernan, who is the CEO of Myriad Gardens. Maureen, thanks so much for giving us a sneak peek
Well,
a little
thanks
bit.
for following our project over these almost a year, I think.
Yeah, it's been quite a process,
It's
and
been
this
quite a
tree has survived it all.
I
so.
know, we've survived it, the trees survived it, and we're so excited to be almost done.
Yeah, so obviously we've got some plants coming in. I know there's still some more little tweaks to do before the grand opening, but let's talk about what you've got done so far.
We've got lots of little tweaks, but the big things are all in place. So you can see it's completely different from the previous one. So the thing I think people will notice first of all is that there's an open canopy. Before we closed, it was truly like a rainforest in here. So it's going to take some time to grow back. But in the meantime, there's a lot of light in here. You can see the beautiful architecture. So, but we have planted, we'll probably have as many, if not a little bit more, plants themselves and before we close.
Okay, and you still have the dry and the wet side.
We have the dry side over here on the north, and the rest of it is all tropical type plants.
Right. And then you've grouped the plants, is that right?
Yeah, among the many changes we've made is we thought about how do we tell stories better? How do we interpret the collection better? And so our director of horticulture, Nate Shane, suggested we group things that have some similarities.
Okay.
So when you're there, you can really talk about a group of things and learn more about them. So for instance, behind your shoulder here, we have mangoes and avocados and pineapples and bananas. So a lot of things like that are in this section. And behind me, I think there's an olive tree, there's coffee beans, so kind of commodity type things. Okay. And what you don't see today here, but one of the things that we have to add back in is all of our new interpretations. So we're really excited about how our new interpretation, everything from plant labels for individual plants up to telling stories, interpretation, will all be installed here. So it will be a much richer experience for all ages to come through. You can learn as little as you want or as much as you want. We have different levels of information. So that'll all be still to come.
So there's a little bit of a low roar in the background that we there's always water in here, and there still is a nice, beautiful, big waterfall behind us.
Well, that was a tradition we kept. When you come in, you hear water.
Yes.
A different kind of sound. But yes, that's our new waterfall, which is really a beautiful piece. It's a big focal point. And again, it's very new, the plantings on either side of it, but they'll start to grow over and overhang and soften it. But it's a wonderful feature to have. In the rainforest, you have to have water. Waterfalls, this is kind of a stylistic, kind of modern approach to that.
And you sort of balanced it with water now on the other end too. Almost
we did.
Like an oasis
You're right.
in the desert.
It's kind of, moving water and still water. So you have the yin and yang of waters here. But the reflecting pool is really beautiful. We've got some papyrus growing in there, water lilies, and above it will be hanging these 3 large flower balls, which will change with different seasons. So their reflection, as well as the sky and the architecture, is all reflected in the pool. So that's a nice feature that we've added.
And I know you've changed the walkway. There's a gift shop. You've got an art gallery now out front that's kind of themed with the grand opening. Give us a little bit of a teaser about that grand opening and when it is.
Well, it opens to the public on November 18th. And then we'll be open 7 days a week, Monday through Saturday, 9 to 5, and then on Sundays, 11 to 6.
Okay.
Starting Black Friday and then all through December, we'll have extended hours on Friday and Saturday evenings until 8. So people can come out and tour the new Crystal Bridge or shop in the gift shop during the holiday season.
So even though that looks almost complete, there's still some more to do, but it will be ready to go for grand opening.
Yeah, I look at here and I see everything that's missing and how much more canopy it will feel. We'll be putting in a lot of containers through here with plantings and up by the waterfall. All the interpretations, seating, benches. We also have a new discovery room. It's not a big space, but it was an unused space between the elevator and our second level entrance into the conservatory. So we've turned it into a really family-friendly, kid-friendly room that has some really wonderful interpretation and graphics showing how plants and insects work together to help each other and strategies that they both have to survive. And so that will be opening too. And it's really colorful and fun. And it's a good place to either start your visit or end your visit. And we'll have little activities for kids to do when they visit in the Discovery Room.
Well, thank you, Maureen, for sharing this sneak peek with us.
Well, thanks for covering this project and hope you'll continue to cover it.
Absolutely. Today we are here at the Oklahoma City National Memorial, and behind me is one of the most well-known trees, especially to people in Oklahoma. Joining me is Gabriel Taylor, who is responsible for maintaining the grounds here, and we're talking about the survivor tree today. Gabriel, I know a lot goes into keeping this tree healthy. Can you tell us a little bit about that daily, weekly, monthly maintenance that happens?
So yes, I'm the director of facilities here, and I get the honor of being able to take care of the survivor tree. And that's not just 8 to 5 job, that's a 24/7 job. When I'm not here, we have security watching over it, because we have security here 24/7, so they're also watching the grounds and making sure that during ice storms, during storms, that nothing's happened to the tree, so they keep an eye on that for us and then call us at all times of night if they have any concerns. Some of the daily stuff that we do is we walk by and we take a look at the limbs themselves, and then we also look at making sure that no one's done anything overnight or to the tree itself or shoved anything into the bark.
Yeah. Some people might think they're giving a donation or they're leaving a tribute behind, but it actually can cause damage to the tree.
We want to make sure that it stays healthy and that nothing's inside the bark or anything like that, so that it grows in there. And that's why we have a donation box here for that reason, in case somebody wants to kindly leave a donation for us. But we take the overall health of it, and then the weekly items, is we make sure that as the tree develops or during the springtime, we take care of picking up all the seeds. And when Mother Nature says that it's time to let go of the seeds, we go through there daily and sweep up the seeds. And then we take those seeds and then we give them to Mark to have them, Mark Bays, to have them planted, some of them. And then some of them we send off to our supplier to have them put into little packets for people to grow their own survivor tree.
Okay, because I know those are given away at different times throughout the year, and to some of the surviving families, and different parks around Oklahoma have those as well.
Yes, on April 19th we give a certain amount of those away, the saplings. We are also selling those online at survivortree.com.
Well, how old, it's an American elm, right?
That is true.
How old is this tree? I mean, it's been through a lot, and not to mention the bombing, obviously.
We believe, I don't know exactly, no one can tell us exactly,
Right.
but it's quite old. We don't know, we've had pictures from 1940 with it in the parking lot or in someone's backyard, so there's no telling how old exactly that it might be.
Yeah.
But with a guesstimation around 100 years maybe.
So today something special is kind of happening, and it's preventative treatment, right? Tell us a little bit about what's going on today.
So it's being treated for Dutch elm disease. We're not worried about Dutch elm, but we're just doing preventative maintenance. We want to be proactive here versus reactive.
Right.
So that we make sure that it lives on as long as possible.
Well, thank you, Gabriel, for sharing this. And I'm going to go find Mark Bays to find out a little bit more of the technical information about this treatment, if you don't mind.
Sounds good.
So Mark, we just finished up a preventative treatment on the
Yeah.
survivor tree. Tell me a little bit about that process.
Yeah, so this is an American elm. American elm just across the United States is at risk to get Dutch elm disease. It does not have Dutch elm disease, but there are some preventative measures that you can take. We've treated it in the past before, and we just thought it was appropriate to again treat it today.
Okay, and is this something that you do in the springtime typically? I mean,
It's a really good time is like today. We came here early in the morning. It's kind of the sun's out, it's warming, it's early in the spring, so there's a lot of fluid moving through the tree.
okay.
And so what we did today is we used a fungicide, Arbortech, and the folks from Rainbow were nice enough to donate it because it's kind of an expensive product. So they donated it, and we had it mixed. So there's a mixture, depending on the size of the tree, that you use. You mix it up and you drill a bunch of holes in the bottom of the tree. It's not hurting the tree.
Right, right.
These are just very small wounds that you're creating.
And those number of holes is based off of the size of the tree. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So the number of holes that you put in around the circumference of the root flare, you want it down at the bottom, and the amount of product that you use is all dependent on the size of the tree. So we measured this tree earlier. It's 43 inches in diameter, and so everything that we used was based on that, based on the label of the fungicide that we're using.
And so then basically it's sort of an IV. It just takes it up, right?
Exactly. Their very small amount of pressure was to initially get it started. So 18 to 20 pounds of pressure they were using.
Okay.
And that just initiated the process to kind of get it flowing. And they put in 50 gallons of fluid into the tree here with the mixture. But then towards the end, we unplugged that and you could see the fluid moving in. So the tree's natural system in the xylem, moving the fluids up through the tree, kind of was sucking it up. And that's why it's good during the spring. Those fluids are moving, the trees are transpiring, bringing in water from the roots. So all this now is being moved in throughout the whole crown of the tree.
Okay. And so that prevents the fungus from developing, or a beetle, because I know it's transmitted through a beetle. Tell me a little bit about what that prevents.
Dutch elm disease is spread a couple different ways. If you have all Dutch elm trees in a row, and one tree gets Dutch elm disease, it can actually go through the roots of the tree. And we saw that a lot in the Midwest. Dutch elm disease was introduced upper part of the middle part of the country back in the 30s, and it's just spread all over the place. This is a very isolated elm, so there's no root connections with other elm trees. The one way it could get it is the other way. There's a European bark beetle that is spread. It helps spread it, and there's an American elm beetle that doesn't spread it as much. So it's the European bark beetle that spreads it a little bit more often.
Okay.
What happens is you have one of these small beetles that emerge as an adult out of an infected tree, because the adults lay their eggs in these dying trees, and so when those adults emerge, then they fly out and they start eating on uninfected trees. So that fungus is transmitted by the European beetles inside their body, outside their body. So when they start chewing on a fresh tree, that's how it can kind of get transmitted into the xylem or the fluid of the uninfected tree.
Okay, so this is an actual fungicide though that prevents that
Yes.
fungus pathogen from getting into that tree.
Correct.
then.
So this fungicide, now that we've injected it at the base, it's moving up through all the different stems. A lot of times you'll see flagging with Dutch elm disease, and you'll see that browning of the very tips. And that's where the beetles actually like to feed, on the unions, on those little small branches. And so with the fungicide up there, the insect will still feed, but if some of that fungus is transmitted in there, the fungicide is in there to kill the fungus.
Okay, well, I'm so glad that you're protecting our tree, and I know it's a whole team of people that is taking care of it. It looks beautiful again. You would never know you were here this morning.
Right.
Because you have this grate around it, right? So
Yes.
that's kind of what was pulled back, and it's all
Yeah.
cleaned up now.
So, and that's what was important about this. And when they first designed this, we knew that we were going to be having to get in and treat the tree through time. So the whole design around the promenade here is they made it to where you can remove it to expose those root flares to do this kind of treatment in the future, and what we did today.
Okay. So obviously, going back to Dutch elm disease a little bit, it's not typically something we preventatively treat on most just trees that are out there that might be susceptible. But if a homeowner has a prominent tree that they are concerned about for whatever reason, or has value to them, this is something a homeowner could hire an arborist to do?
Yes, and you'll have to have a certified arborist come out and do this. This is a controlled chemical. You just can't go down to a garden center and buy this. And there's some technique that you have to do. There's some special equipment that you have to do it. And then the fungicide itself, nobody can just go and buy it across the, across the counter.
Right.
But it is a little expensive. But if you have a very meaningful tree for you, and it happens to be an American elm, then each of us are going to have to decide whether or not we want to do that on a regular cycle. In Oklahoma, the average time for treating it is 3 to 4 years.
Okay.
So on this particular tree, on the survivor tree, we know that we're in pretty good shape for 3 or 4 years, and then we'll reassess the health of the tree at that time and make that decision then to if we need to do it at that time.
And of course, the health of it will continue to be monitored daily
Yeah.
by Gabriel and your staff as well. So we
Yeah.
appreciate you guys taking care of this tree and looking after it. Thank you
thanks.
so much, Mark.
You bet.
Join us next week on Oklahoma Gardening as we perk up the winter scene with some summer flowers. To find out more information about show topics as well as recipes, videos, articles, fact sheets, and other resources, including a directory of local extension offices, be sure to visit our website at oklahomagardening.okstate.edu. Join in on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can find this entire show and other recent shows as well as individual segments on our Oklahoma Gardening YouTube channel. Tune in to our OK Gardening Classics YouTube channel to watch segments from previous hosts. Oklahoma Gardening is produced by the Oklahoma Cooperative Extension Service as part of the Division of Agricultural Sciences and Natural Resources at Oklahoma State University. The Botanic Garden at OSU is home to our studio gardens, and we encourage you to come visit this beautiful Stillwater gem. We would like to thank our generous underwriter, the Oklahoma Department of Agriculture, Food, and Forestry. Additional support is also provided by Pond Pro Shop, Greenleaf Nursery and the Garden Debut Plants, the Tulsa Garden Center at Woodward Park, the Oklahoma Horticultural Society, Smart Pot, and the Tulsa Garden Club.